All right, hey, what's going on? Brian Jalbert here, actor, producer, and we're gonna pop into a really amazing panel. And when I say amazing, I mean amazing. It's about film distribution. We got three perspectives. I think that's how you say it. Myself, Brian Jalbert, self-distribution aspect. I've got Ryan Justice, who represents the filmmaker and working with a sales agent, and Tom Malloy, who is a filmmaker, but we're going to use him as the traditional aspect because he owns a distribution company. Tom Malloy, you might know from The Alphabet Killer. Ryan Justice, his movie is going to be coming out called Skunk Ape. And then actually Tom Malloy has a movie called Ask Me to Dance that we just seen in theaters that you guys can check out. I'll put some links down there. So what are we going to talk about in this panel of film distribution? Well, we're going to touch on foreign sales, a sales agent working with a sales agent and how to do so, working with a distributor. Have you ever worked with a distributor? You're going to learn. The AFM markets, cans. Is it good to go to these? When do we go to these? And should we go to these? And which one should we go to? We're going to touch on here. Streaming services, Amazon, Netflix. Ooh, we all love Netflix. We all love Amazon. Or do we? You're going to find out. And then marketing your movie. Why is that important? Because if you don't market it, no one's going to see it. All right, enjoy the panel.
So what I wanted to do on this panel is basically give them a different aspects of distribution. So with that being said, we got Ryan Justice over here who's going to represent the filmmaker and working with a sales agent. Tom Malloy, who's actually owns a distribution company. And myself, who's dabbled in the self-distribution realm with Amazon and things like that. So, Tom, why don't you start it off? Tell us a little bit more about yourself and the distribution aspect.
Okay. And then I guess I'll give a little intro, and then we'll go to each person, and then I could say my spiel on distribution, the traditional routes. For those of you who don't know me, I've been around a long time. I'll just make this super quick. 20 plus years, actor, writer, producer. Produced my 15th movie last year. Started a bunch of movies. Written 30 plus screenplays, 24 have been option sold or made into movies. 26 have been option sold or made into movies. And about 4 years ago, I started Glasshouse Distribution, an investor named Brian Glass and myself. So that's where it comes from, but it became a double entendre. Like you could see everything going on. Because AFM this year was my 14th year in a row, my 7th Cannes Film Festival in a row. Not in a row, 7th Cannes Film Festival total. And I've been around the markets a long time, and so I've sold bunch of movies, sold every single movie I've ever done. And I wanted to say I didn't want to do to filmmakers what distributors were doing to me all those years, which was, hiding profits and big margins and all this stuff and expenses. And so that's where Glasshouse came from. So the company, it was me and the financier 4 years ago. Now I just hired my 7th employee. And we opened a TV division, started with 1 market. Now we're doing 8 markets this year. Real Screen, Berlin, Cannes, obviously, MIP TV, MIPCOM, Toronto. I'm missing one in there. Oh, and then AFM. And I think now I might be going to Filmart in Hong Kong to buy some animation titles. But anyway, that's the quick spiel on Glasshouse, and I'll let these guys give their intros. So.
Awesome. Brian Jalbert, one of the Jalbert brothers. Basically, my background is in film production and producing TV and film. The best way that we have found for us that has worked is when we produce content. Putting it up on Amazon or Film Hub, and a lot of self-distribution aspects in marketing and pushing it out there to an audience. So trying to get rid of the, middleman per se, not trying to get rid of Tom here, but trying something different to try to figure out what could work for us. And that has been with the show Haunted Tours that we've done, that we did pretty well with as far as getting over 10 million streaming minutes on Prime and building a bit of a mini studio, we call it. So it's more entrepreneurial filmmaking is how we kind of describe it, taking our product, making our product, and pushing the product, whereas we do everything in-house. And that's a little bit about us and kind of what we do. I'm going to pass it over to Ryan Justice.
How you guys doing? My name is Ryan Justice. So I'm a local filmmaker, born and raised here in Tampa. Produced short films, and a few years ago, with a couple of these guys over here, we produced a feature film. And what's funny is that we thought about doing both types of distribution. We considered doing self-distribution if nobody traditionally wanted to buy our movie. But with some connections that we met over the years at events like this, we had a sales agent and actually got a traditional distribution deal, and our little movie Followers was released in theaters around the country and sold to US, China, UK, Thailand, and we actually made money from a movie. Next.
So, with that being said, Tom, can you tell us a little bit about, like, what are you looking for in a project that you pick up, and what are some things that maybe get your attention?
Okay, I'll give you a little bit for the people that don't know the job of the sales agent distributor. Distributor would mean that we're putting directly to platforms, which we do in the U.S., a little bit internationally. But internationally, we sell. We sell to buyers. We have buyers in every territory at these markets, and guy comes in from UK and he says, "I'm looking for romantic comedies." We show him our romantic comedies and we try to make a deal. That's how it goes, right? And as everybody knows here, the market has changed. Okay, going back 20 years when I started this, I said this in my speech yesterday. We'd make an independent film for $6-7 million, and it was great. That you could actually make a living doing 2 of them a year. You were doing pretty good, mid 6 figures. But now, once DVDs and Blockbuster went away, this product just didn't support it anymore. And so now, if you made a $7 million movie right now, you can make $70,000 on it. But you never know. I mean, when I started this business, the first film I did with me and Elizabeth Moss called The Attic, and it was $550,000. And I mean, people were like, "Oh, but that's nothing. Like, that's like glorified student money, And it's like, nowadays that's a legit budget for an indie film, to have. But anyway, to answer your question specifically, I'll just say that. And by the way, when you talk about the traditional distribution, like what I say, I think the best way to do it is look at it as like a book. If you have a book publisher, you're going to have a publisher that's going to pay in advance to write it, they're going to put in Barnes and Noble and everything. That's a certain level, right? And I'm not saying it's better than self-publishing, but what I will say is that if you want to self-publish a book, you need to have a huge audience, right? And the same with self-distributed movie. You better have 300,000 people that are into your movie, know about your movie, and that you can email. And out of those 300,000, how many are going to go on and watch it? I don't know. So that's the issue. When you use somebody like us, we're getting directly to buyers, getting cash deals for the territory. And then in the U.S., we're trying to put marketing money and stuff in Facebook ads and do stuff behind it. But again, I still haven't quite answered your question yet. But
I'm
totally kidding. No. But the key that I would say is that because that market's changing and everything is different out there, you have to look and say, where are you going to go with your movie? That's it. At the end of the day, like, what do you want to? Do you want to get your movie with distribution? My last 7 movies have been in theaters, and it's like, that's the quintessential, like, you got your movie in theaters. So,
do you find that to like hurt though? As far as like, I know like people say, "Oh, get your movies in theaters" and all that stuff. But have you found that you lose more money going to theaters rather than just doing a straight digital or DVD release and doing like foreign sales?
It depends. There's been times where we've made money, times that we've lost money in theaters would be a lost leader. There's times where, one film I made and sold as a double buyout, and so it was opening in 13 cities, and people are like, "Are you nervous?" I'm like, "I don't give a shit. I just doubled my money on the movie. Like, I don't get that's done." So it depends. It depends. Yes, there is a lot of times where you can't make money. Are you taking a picture? Yeah. Hey. No, there's a lot of times where you can't make money theatrically. And so, you just got to play that smart as well. Again, that also entails having an audience. If you have an audience, it's like when Alphabet Killer, I did this movie called The Alphabet Killer with Eliza Dushku, Tim Hutton, Carrie Elways, Melissa Leo. And we opened it in Rochester. That was where the actual true crime took place. And we were the 3rd highest per screen average in the country. For that, it was like $13,000 for one screen, and that was our first opening weekend. So that's knowing your audience, you know what I mean, and getting in the right spot, and doing the smart.
So you would say having something with a built-in audience is super important as far as something like a name actor.
100%. Oh, and that's right. I'd never answered, what are we looking for? And I'll say this, name actor, yes. The number one thing, there's 3 things that we look for. Number 1 is cast. Cast. And if y'all think you're making a movie, I'm making a movie $100,000 or so, I can't get cast. Bullshit. I have done it. I do it all the time. Okay? Why? Because actors love great scripts.
How do we get the cast? Can we dig into that?
Well, I'll have to put my website. filmmakingstuffhq.com.
All
There's an
right.
entire video series on landing name cast hosted by me. Okay, so it's a process. I will say that it takes a great script because actors love great scripts. They will do anything. They'll pay their dollar. Holly Berry took Scale for Monsters Ball when she read that script, and then suddenly Best Actress nomination. So they're always looking for the thing that's going to get them to the next level. But cast we look for first. That's the number one most important thing because that's what the buyers come in. Who's in it? It's the buyers say to us. So it's like we need that. Number two is genre, action, sci-fi, horror. That's the question mark because there's so much horror out there. Horror kind of needs cast too, unfortunately. Action doesn't, sci-fi doesn't. The third one and the one that you should all be interested in if you don't want to put cast is family. If you could do something family-friendly where there's nobody doing lines of coke, no sex, no F words or whatever, hell yeah, we could sell that. We've sold some movies. We had a movie called The Last Treasure Hunt that was very vanilla. We sold the shit out of that. I mean, everybody, Africa and Middle East, that would never touch a movie that's, it's got some edginess into it. So, yeah. The edgy drama, with no names, I'm sorry. We can't do anything with that. We just can't. We'll try, but we can't.
What about MGs? Like, that's a word that goes around a bit. Are you seeing that with films? Are they being given out, or is it only for specific, product?
It is. We pay them, but for those who don't know, the minimum guarantee. It's an upfront payment because you think you're going to make it back. AMGs for any movie that this is going in and out. Sorry, and I'm loud. Any movie that you have to pay MGs on, and because it's a it's to land the movie. We've done it. We've made it, but I think it was called Snatchers. Look for it. It's an incredible horror movie because we get them early. I think this is through ICM or Endeavor sent it to us. And I mean, we were going to put $75,000 MG just up front, and then Warner Brothers comes in. It's like, well, we can't compete with the Warner Brothers. They're guaranteeing 2,000 theaters or something like that. So, we'll try, and we have the ability to make very big MGs if we needed to. Maybe in the top 750,000 if we had to. But if that's going to happen, it's going to be Dallas Buyers Club. That's what we're going for at that point. So it's like, it's MGs are 100% based on cast, or some property or IP that's just like, wow, well, that's something. I'm sorry to talk forever, but one film came to us, and it was like a High School Musical, let's just say, that type of movie, and the combined 4 leads had 75 million Instagram followers. And we made an MG for that. You know what I mean? It was like, we made an offer, and somebody beat us. So, we take a lot of competitors. When somebody was talking today, you guys were talking about the sales agents, every single one I knew. I'm like, Alex. And they said, no, it's Sean. And they said, Micah. I know everybody. I was like, I've been around these markets, it's the same people. And, you just get in that flow and know the business. And that's the most important thing I'll ever say, and I'm never saying it again. Oh, you guys missed it. You just came in. Sorry. I would have included you, but yeah.
Ryan, let's dig into a little bit because I want to hear from you. What was it like working with your sales agent, and what are some of the things that you guys looked for when you were actually looking at that as where you wanted to be?
So, for all filmmakers, producers out there, so we started, and how I met my sales agent was going to events, film festivals like that. So 10 years ago, I met my sales agent. I was 22, and I pitched him a project and little pitch fests, sort of like this. And at the time, I didn't have a feature film. So, but I kept that relationship. I sent him feature films, and we built a rapport over years. So then in 2016, we were like, you know what? We're going to go finally make that feature film. We took all the resources that we had available to us to go out, make a movie, pretty much in a little over a week.
Talk about that for a second. So when you made that movie, you guys basically, like you said, put your resources together, right?
Right.
You did that.
So that's the thing. So we have cameras. A lot of people already have cameras. So my producing partners right there, Jason and Ian, we had the cameras, we had the actors already. We have locations around us here in the greater Tampa Bay area, and we were like, dude, we have everything we need to do it. We have a little bit of cash. Let's pay our actors. Let's go out there. Let's make a movie that we can shoot with what we have, and then let's see what we can do. Now, we did take some...
You guys did have a great hook, though.
Right.
They played off of Facebook.
Yeah, so our movie's available now on Amazon Prime. It's called Followers. It's a social media thriller. We don't like to say horror, just because for sales purposes. But it's about a social media fitness couple. They film everything that they do. They go on a camping trip, and what they don't realize, they're being tracked and followed by two guys doing a documentary on how easy it is to track somebody off social media and kill them. Followers.
So what you're saying is you're a creep. You're a creep.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So at the time, for the budget that we made the movie, we're like, well, we have a sales agent friend, but you know what? Maybe nobody will buy the movie because it was, it wasn't big. We didn't have a cast. So it was about 3 or 4 weeks before AFM 2016, and I was like, man, we've been editing this movie. Like, if one person buys the movie, we make our budget back. So we're like, let's call, and we reached out to the guy. I finally had that feature film to give him and utilize that relationship that I had been pretty much setting seeds for almost, at that time, 6 years. So I was like, hey, do you want to take this feature film? I got a trailer. My buddy at the time was working at HSN. He cuts all these promos together. I'm like, hey, I need you to cut this trailer. Ian made some key art. We sent it to the sales agent. He's like, I think I could sell this. Maybe. He's like, he didn't give me a lot of confidence, but I guess maybe that's what you're supposed to do. So he takes the movie to AFM, and within, the first day, he sold it to US, China, UK, Thailand, all for MGs. We made all our money back, and it was just on the trailer and the key art. No, this is Marty Poole, Fairway Film Alliance.
Okay.
So he sold it to Alex. Alex came in and bought it.
And then bought it. Got it.
Right.
I just want to say something on there. One of my buddies produced a movie called Swim Fan back in the day, and it was a horror film. And there was, screenings, and we'll do that. We'll set up screenings. One time we rented out the William screening room just for one person, just for cash and outways. We just rented it out, $850. Just get it in there, and it's like, because a lot of times movies screen in theaters so much better, especially if they're theatrical. But we've done it where we put, maybe about 10 or 15 distributors in a room and just screened it for them. But he was telling me about Swim Fan. He had 30. He was able to get 30. And John Panatti's a pretty big producer in the room. And Swim Fan was like a maybe $10 million. Now, these things were a little bit better back then. But he said every single 29 said no. 29 said no, and 1 said yes, which was Sony, which ended up making about $30 million in the first week on the movie. So the key is it only takes that one. We've been pretty lucky on selling films, but some, it takes a little while to find the home. So the key is just having more experience and talking to people and going to markets. I'll give a whole spiel on markets at the end, that you should all be going to markets. I should see you all at AFM or Cannes or Berlin or something like that, or MIPCOM, because that's where the action is, truly.
Let me ask you this then. So majority of monies, now I don't know, I'm not going to dig into how much you're making and things like that, but
I've stayed in some of the best westerns in the
I bet you have. Where are you seeing most of the money come in at? Is it digital? Is it just foreign sales? Are you making it just in foreign sales and then only making so much in the U.S.? How does that work out?
Foreign sales are our most lucrative business when we get MG offers from countries. That's the best kind, and so there'll be, in any business, you know how it is, in sales, you'll have 20% of your clients, everybody knows the 80-20, getting you 80% of the money, and that's the way it is with us. 20% of our movies give us 80% of our profit. But, we had some success in the U.S. I took on a behind the scenes of a soap opera webisode series called Dropping the Soap with Jane Lynch, and we won the Emmy for Best Actress for Jane Lynch. So it was like, oh shit, man. And the best part is when she got nominated for the Emmy, Amazon actually emailed us and was like, do you mind if we pop a banner up? It's like, oh, no way. Yes, of course, that'd be great. And so they actually, asked us if they could put banner ads for our show. And the second that happened, well, shit. that did very well. Yeah.
We got a question. What's your question, my man?
I know, we picked it. It wasn't either. It was the writers of the show. Jane was just, the lead, villain, the producer of the soap opera that was the mean person.
Nice. So as far as streaming platforms go, what are you seeing with that? How does that playing into now? Because I know it's almost like the Wild West on that aspect with all the services,
Well, I'll say this, anybody in this room can get their film on any platform digital, except for Netflix, Hulu, the ones that are more exclusive. But you can get it on Amazon, iTunes, Vudu, Google Play. You can get them out. Anybody in this room. Okay? There's services where you can actually pay to do that. The key is who's going to see it. That is such the key. Who's going to see it? Who's going to go and click on that link? And so, for example, I did a movie called Screamers. And before my sales company was bigger, got to the level it was, we were selling it to different sales companies, right? Screamers was released through Epic Pictures / Dread Central. Now, here's the difference. That film comes out, and in iTunes horror, when you clicked on the horror genre, it was the number 1 for like 3 days, and it was top 5 for like almost 40 days. And I'm talking the other ones were like Get Out, whatever the hell else was around at the time. So it's like, if you're on that first page of iTunes, you're making bank. Like, that is amazing. Versus iTunes is this gigantic bin that your movie's just going to be thrown into if you just pay to have it up. And it's like, who the hell is going to find it generically? Now, Amazon's a little better. Because Amazon, you search for, carpet, and the next day there's 5 ads for carpets, and they do the same algorithm with their shows. That's why
You can
shows
definitely
can be
hack
successful.
Amazon a bit.
Amazon's a little bit more hackable. iTunes impossible. It's not going to happen.
The best thing about Amazon too is, so if just to kind of give you guys a little insight on what we did, a show called Haunted Tours we did. One of the things that really helped was getting reviews. So if you guys do put your stuff online and you are on the Amazon platform, the first thing you want to do as soon as you release it is, like he said, people got to see it. How do they see it? You have to market it, whether it's the trailer, on social media, the posters, everything. Everything's got to look pristine. It's got to look like $1 million in order for at least have that presentation. Then you got to present it. So it's definitely, when you get your product, you got to make it look presentable. You got to push it. And then even at the beginning, you got to start with your base. So if you've got a base as far as people that were involved in the movie, go get them to leave reviews. Like, don't be scared to inbox people directly on Facebook and say, hey, because I think I've done it to some of the people in this room. Hey, my show's out. Yeah, you still ain't left a review, bro. But kick your ass. And you want to stack up about 30 to 50 reviews, no joke. And then what happens is it can become trending. And if it's good enough, it becomes trending. And then when it becomes trending, other people that are not in your network are seeing the product you just produced, as long as it looks good. And then what happens is people start to see it. I mean, that's kind of what happened with us.
Oh, it's awkward silences are fun.
I'm almost getting a question here.
Yeah.
But, go on. Right. So, once again, right. So it was low budget. That's another thing. Like, a lot of people get caught up in, like, they're looking for $1 million to make their movie, but sometimes it's maybe making a smaller movie that you can make to get to that next level. So, we made a little thriller with all the resources that we had, and then using those resources that we've made at other connections, other networking events like this at hackinghollywood.com. So they
it's like a pitch man.
So what you have to is, like, we made that little movie to then get to that next level, and sometimes a lot of people wait to they're thinking they're going to get $1 million, they're just not going to get the $1 million. So sometimes you just got to make what you can make and make sure it's good.
We always say, always choose to make the movie. Always choose to make the movie.
Right. And now, Jason Brubaker, give him a plug. Like, I started listening to him in 2012, and I use a lot of his stuff. It's like, use the resources that you have to make the movie you can today, right? I told Jason, I'm like, Jason, take this comment, put it on your website. Because because a lot of us have cameras. A lot of people that we know have cameras, and that's half the battle. That's half the budget right there.
I'll say to your, I'm plugging the website, but to your point, Dove Simmons, an old friend of mine that wrote From Real to Deal, he gave a quote on my book, Bankroll. Did the people, anybody here read Bankroll? Show of hands. That's how he found me, by the way. That was the book I wrote in 2008, the first edition, 2012, the second edition, and it was the gold standard book on film financing for years. And now everything's at Filmmaking Stuff HQ because shit changes so much that for the year and a half they pay me the advance and I write it and it gets in Barnes & Noble. It's literally changed. So I didn't write a third edition. Everything's on videos, filmmakingstuffhq.com. But the reason what I was just going to say was the Dove Simmons quote was, how do you make a $100 million movie? Okay? The answer was, you make a $10 million movie that's successful. How do you make a $10 million movie? You make a $1 million movie that's successful. How do you make a $1 million movie? You make a $100,000 movie that's successful. Now, here's where I disagree with Dove. You do not need to be successful. You just need to be able to do it. That's the only difference. You get out there and you're doing it. It's like, if I'm going to hire this guy, he's built housing. No, he's built a dance club. I want to build a dance club. He's done 3, okay? But she's never built one. I'm probably going to go with him. Even if those 3 weren't successful, didn't make a lot of money, there's other reasons. There's other factors. Maybe it was the location. It was the timing. It was the style of the club or whatever. You know what I mean? So I'm always going to go with somebody that has more experience. So just get out there and make those movies, and stuff starts to happen. You know, there's 9 words it takes to be a producer. Everybody should remember this. 9 words. Ready? I have multiple projects in various stages of development. That's it. And every major producer that I know, that's exactly what they're doing with their life. And that's me. That's Tommy. That's Brian. That's Ryan. I have multiple projects, we all do, in various stages of development. That's it. Say those 9 words. I crown you a producer. There it is.
Like, how many filmmakers do we have here? Right. Okay. So that's the thing. Like, the Jalberts always talk about just, get out there and do it. And that's kind of what we did. You gotta need to do it, and maybe, hope for some luck, and, put your best foot forward, and hopefully something will happen. Like, a distributor will find your movie from the sales agent that you worked at and talked with, and then he wants to put your movie in theaters, and then you can use that now to get to the next level, to the next movie. Keep working at that. So, the hustle.
Yeah, I mean, it's about, like, it's all being said here is creating your own destiny, right? So it's taking your career in your hands. Like, what do you have access to right now? Like, that was our biggest thing. When we started back in 2012, I mean, we did things before this, but when we took it seriously and wanted to shoot a feature film, it was like, okay, what do we have access to, like, right now? Like, okay, we got some cameras, we got a little bit of money we can put together. Let's shoot it in, like, 1 or 2 locations, minimal actors, and then just produce a product and see what we can do with it. Now, granted, there becomes a little risk with that, because if you're not thinking about the end game of distribution, you run into problems because you're like, oh shit, what do I do with it now? It's done. You call up Tom, or you try an avenue of digital distribution, or you go with a sales agent. I think there's so many different areas that we can tackle. It's finding what works for the project you produced. What did you produce it at? What does it look like? Maybe it's a YouTube show, right? We had social media influencers up here earlier that were, had these YouTube followings and making money. Carol G was up here. She built a whole audience online from doing parodies, and it, like, supported her. Like, and she's doing what she loves. Like, that's to me is the biggest thing. It's you doing what you love. It's doing it every day, and it's not letting something stop you, or an excuse, or something, just a roadblock. Oh, I can't do it because I don't have the money.
I told a great story before. I was talking to Tommy, and were you over there? Yeah. And how you got to be in this business. And it was a story that Brian Regan, the comedian, anybody know Brian Regan, one of the funniest stand-up comedians, he was saying he would just watch an anthill being formed with all these ants, like, putting the hill together when he was a kid. And then every once in a while he'd be like, rebuild. And he goes, there was never a moment where the ants were like, come on, like, we've been working on this all day. They just immediately started rebuilding the anthill. And I said, I took that as a motto for my life in the movie business. And it's like, okay, this fell out. Okay, now I go over here. Now I'm here. Oh, then that didn't work out. And that's always the way I am. I don't get emotionally attached to anything. If you tell me, oh, the money fell through, I'm like, all right, what other money guys do I have? I don't go, I'm going to sit in my bed for the next week, and pissing and moaning. No, it's what's next, and that's the way you have to be in this business. Be an ant. Be an ant. That is the key to getting successful. Just keep going. Keep forging ahead and doing what like you guys just said, using the resources that you have available to yourself to get something going and make a movie. And then you're a filmmaker. Yeah.
I mean, you're building your foundation, right? It's something to build upon. You don't have to immediately go, I'm going to make a $10 million movie. It doesn't always work like that. Like, that's the tip of the iceberg. You're seeing the success of Spielberg that took him, below the iceberg here. There's 15 years of things he did to get to that level, to stack up to that. So, don't think you have to be there. Put yourself there and be there, but don't let things limit you or stop you from taking the steps necessary to move ahead. Do we have any questions? Let's get some questions. Anybody got some questions?
hated person in the movie business. That's amazing. Go ahead, yeah.
But it's nuanced too, right? So just because he says that doesn't mean it means that, right? So one room, one actor, yeah, sure. But what do you have access to? Like, it comes back to that. What can we use? Like, we're in this room right here. Could we make a movie in this room? Yeah, of course. I mean, we're making it right now. We got all kinds of cameras set up. So, I mean, it just depends on where it's going. You know, is it going to Facebook? Is it going to be in theaters? Is it going to YouTube? Is it going to Amazon? I mean, there's so many different platforms that you can create content for. It's finding what it's right for, you know?
You know, I did want to touch on the markets site. Hundreds and hundreds of hours of videos. It's $1 to sign up. How many people are going to sign up? How many people are going to go to? Thank you, brother. How many people are going to AFM this year in Santa Monica? You don't have to go to Cannes the first time. Yes, Cannes expensive. I know. But it's like you don't have to go to AFM and work it. How much? You know, what did I make the analogy at the speech? You drop your iPhone. Oh yeah, well I got to pay another $1,000. So they'll go out and they'll have dinner and drinks and they'll drop $200. But it's like,
hey, Tom,
Dave has an AFM's $250.
Where did I meet you?
At AFM. But you read my
That's
book.
why he's here. Yeah, but that's why he's here.
Yes.
Because I went up to him and I actually introduced myself and I kept in contact with him before that.
Yeah.
So, and Tommy, why are you here, my man? I met you at FilmCom.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you know, and he, Michelle, who was such an expert, he said, you know, can I consult with you on the thing? And I don't do the consulting anymore, but I have.
I know you dished out on this, bro.
Yeah, I don't. Well, it's the timing.
Come on,
I don't
man.
have any time, man. So anyway, I said no, but I gave you Michelle. She knows what she gave you the ins and outs of AFM. In fact, well, to that note, I have an entire video series dedicated to navigating the AFM. You know what I mean? You can wait till October and sign up on the website and learn the AFM ins and outs, because there is an ins and outs. You know what I mean? Like, who was I talking to Cannes the other night about the Cannes Film Festival? Like, we even know the photographers that'll get you the best picture of the red carpet because we've been there that freaking long and been around it. It's like, but you have to. It's anything. Anybody in any business here, you know, I'm sure there's other businesses that are here. If you know it because you've been around it a long time. I didn't jump in the film business and know everything, and I've still got a ton to learn. But experience, you start to learn more and more.
Should we go without a movie though? What's your aspect on that?
100%. You cannot lose. You cannot lose. Say you go, all right, you go without a movie. Let's just say you went for a one day flight, whatever. You're going to go, you're going to meet people, you're going to network, you're going to go around. How much is that value in the long run? You know, if you end up using this one attorney or this one line producer up there, you know, that's an investment that I look at and I go, well, that's, you know, that makes sense. That's a lot smarter than going out and
should they
buying
walk
shots
the
for everyone.
floor,
Yeah.
or should they do the networking at night? What's your aspect on that?
All right, if you want to talk about the actual navigating the AFM,
A little bit. Couple keys,
Oh,
man.
the first one coming up is Berlin, EFM, European Film Market. I don't know if I'd recommend that as the first market for anybody here, but a real screen, which is in 2 weeks, I'll be there. And by the way, I'm at all these, so if you're here, you could be like, I met you at this. Loved it. You know, it's great. I love hearing that. People tell me they met me, they heard my webinars, whatever. I love it. Please come up to me. So I would say the key with AFM is doing your legwork before. You know, finding which companies are there, emailing them. Hey, I'd love to just say hello. You know what I mean? Then doing some of the legwork while you're there, walking in. Who does your acquisition? Boom, you got the card. That's it. You know, and when you're done with your film 2 months later, you go, hey, I met you at AFM. You know what I mean? Even just to shake hands and just say later, I met you at AFM. They go, oh, yeah, I'll take a look at your movie. But you're talking about versus the parties. Well, you got into the parties because of us. But I'm just saying, no, I didn't mean that in any offensive way. But I meant,
I get it.
Somebody normally couldn't just get into every party. So there's a little bit of a barrier there. So I can't say go to AFM, go to parties. You may not get into the parties, but yeah. After a while, you will though, because then you'll start to know everybody, and then they'll go, hey, are you coming to this? You know. By the way, my company sponsors the best party at AFM. There's always a battle. The two best parties at AFM are the pier party on Friday, on Saturday night, where they rent out the pier for 3 hours, vintage house, and it's like nonstop rides and games. Everybody goes drunk and fun. And then the next party that I think is the better one is the bowling party, and it's Winston Baker Bowling Party, and we were one of the sponsors this year. We were one of 3 sponsors, and it's just a bowling alley, open bar, open food buffet for 3 hours with the top people in there, and man, if you were there, we could have got I think we'll do it next year, too, because we're kind of known as the fun company, and that's the fun party. So, yeah, as those who've hung out with me know, we like to work hard and play hard.
And just to kind of like touch on that, too, he touched on Real Screen. Real Screen is like a TV market. Unscripted, yeah, it is. And then one thing I found, too, is say you don't have it in the budget, right? But you could drive to New Orleans, maybe get a hotel room. The networking is always going on in the bars. You don't need a badge, yo. You know, find the markets where you don't need the badge. If that's where you're starting out, like, go. Make a couple connections. Meet a few people. You never know who's in that bar. And go up and introduce yourself. You know, who is it? You don't know who that person is. Could be a distributor or like Tom. Tom's hanging out, you know.
Here's the last thing I'll say on the Cannes note. You know, when I told you about my friend Michelle, she would go to Cannes, and this would be kind of before Airbnb. This is when you had to know somebody that had an apartment, and she would split the apartment like 6 people. You know, she'd sleep in a couch, share a couch, everywhere, right? Cannes, for those of you who don't know, is a free badge. It is a free badge. An AFM full badge like $1,600, folks. Cannes is a free badge for the Marché de Film if you are a filmmaker. You just have to have an IMDb, and you get them, and they get the qualifications. You don't have to be crazy qualified. You just have to have had some credits. Again, nothing huge, and you get a free badge. And the flights, the food, at the parties, those are the shit that's expensive. But the Cannes itself, so it's like you can go there on the cheap, you know, and just get in. And it's like, come on, the Cannes floor at the Palais de Festivals is like, you know, you're meeting the top people in the world.
Any more questions before we close out on this panel on distribution? Nothing? What do we got, my man? In what way? What do you mean? Yes. So like Amazon Prime, if you go to Video Direct, you can upload anything right to it directly. There are other sites keep control of it and ownership of it, and that's what we did with Haunted Tours, which I mean is like Netflix. Like it's got 1 billion users or something. I don't know what their users are, but there's a huge base. So, and it's only getting bigger. So if you have the right product, and that comes key, it's making the right product to get attention and market it. Yeah. I suggest any filmmaker that's starting out and you make your first movie, yes, 100%, because you can make your money back immediately.
Now, depending on what the money is. Now, could you
well, you want more streaming minutes too. You want something that because they pay you per streaming minutes.
Now, what's great? Let's say you always have Amazon, right? Amazon, you can always, as of right now, you can always put the movie up there. So you could always go and shoot to get a sales agent, get a distributor, and you know what? Nobody wants to buy your movie. You can always, at the very end of the day, go back to Amazon. Now, what I can't stand, my last thought is, please be very careful. So I see a lot of local filmmakers who give their movie away to distributors for no MG. And it's so frustrating because I'm like, you could have just put your movie on Amazon yourself, because that distributor that's all he's going to do. He's just going to put your movie on Amazon Prime, what you could have just done, but now you're going to not see any of those numbers for 6 months while they do all that cycle. So
sometimes, but you can't do it internationally. If they're going to sell internationally, they're going to be
right. But there's a lot of filmmakers, especially even locally, and I've talked to some around the country where they're like, oh well, we just gave our movie away worldwide rights. I'm like, what do you mean? So I'm like, well, how much money? I'm like, well, how much money? Oh, well, they didn't give me an MG, but they said Netflix, Hulu, blah blah blah. I'm like, and what? How? And then
it's tough these days to get MG with no cast, though. I'm just going to say, right? It's very tough,
we did get luck. We made a cool little movie with a cool hook, and we got some MGs. So, in the end of the day, research your distributors, and people, you guys spend so much time making these movies, and then at the end of the day, a lot of people just give their movie away, and I'm like,
put on YouTube or whatever.
Right, the YouTube, great. and I tell people, I'm like, treat your movie like your kid, okay? And your distributor is
minimum guaranteed. Yeah, it's money up front.
So like treat your distributor like a babysitter and do some research. Go to another filmmaker, go through their IMDb page, and ask the filmmaker, ask the director straight up, how was it working with this sales agent? How was it working with this distributor? That's what I did. I'll be honest, I loved my sales agent. But you know what? I knew the guy for 10 years, and then I was like, wait a minute, I'm about to give away my movie. I'm like, how well do I really know this guy?
Yeah. By the way, I hire babysitters for my kids all the time. I don't do any background checks, so that's a bad analogy. I just go, don't kill him before I get back. No, I just want to say one thing about Amazon real quick. Amazon, a little bit fuck Amazon, because Jeff Bezos could do whatever the fuck he wants. I remember there was, after 6 minutes, 15 cents. It was like 15 cents after 6 minutes. And I did this web series called Midtown Cop Comedy. We were getting 70,000 views a month. We were getting $4,000 checks per month in the mail for nothing. We did this really big, this little web series for nothing. And then he made it 7 cents an hour. So it went from 15, and here's the joke. We made the season 2 of Midtown 8 minutes long, just to cross the 6 minute mark. So we're like, oh, these are going to be easy. We made it cheaper each episode, and then it was like, we made nothing from season 2 because of that. And he just dropped it again. And what the hell is anybody going to say? It's Jeff Bezos. They can do whatever they can do whatever the hell they want. So he just dropped it for 4 cents now.
So yeah, so from a filmmaker, right? So I'll try to be quick. So right, we gave it to the sales agent. Sales agent then sells it to the distributor. Distributor pays the sales agent. The sales agent split back down to us, the producers, was 50-50%, right? So for the first $50,000 we made in sales, we got 50% of that, right? So then all that money that we made, X amount of money. So once they released the movie in theaters and all the Walmarts and everything, once they make that MG that they gave us, then the split starts to happen, right? And then that funnel through the sales agent and back down to the filmmaker. That's why it's so scary when filmmakers just give their movie away to a distributor, because then you can go into the bad Hollywood marketing stuff. But
Wherever, I don't even know where Adam is. There's a lot of answers there. There's a lot of, that I could go on, I can write this on the board. That there's a lot of ways to answer where the expenses go. Here's what I'll say. If you're going to work with a sales agent, there's a little thing in life when somebody says, give me some references, that I remember reading this book on there, that dumbest practice. If any of you own businesses and you're asking employees to giving you references, it's the dumbest practice, because no one's going to give you shitty references. They're going to give you the best people that are going to say great things about it. So it's a moronic practice to begin with. Give me references. Okay, I'm going to give you people that hate me.
Go find your own references.
So,
that's what IMDb is.
Here's the deal. You can go to any distributor, and you're about to sign with them. You like the deal, the expenses. You're going to watch for the expenses. To make sure they're not doing these marketing fees or whatever. You get the sales fee around the 25%. That's what we do. Every dollar we say, 25 cents goes to us, 75 cents goes to you, right? And you try to get the best deal on that. Then go to IMDb, find other movies, and see the producer, and you can email them, you can call them and be like, hey, what was your experience working with, Chair Films? Boom. Okay, do that. And I guarantee, because I'm one of them, if you ask me about the people I hate, I'll tell you. And if you ask me about the people I love, I will tell you too. And that's the same with crew and everything. People call me, how is this cinematographer? Oh my God, gold. Love this guy. How is this cinematographer? Nightmare. Run. I'm happy to say that, because it's like, that's what it is. It's community. So it's the best way to check on the distributor. About to sign a deal, ask. You were saying, it's so funny. I know the distributor. You said Indican. I work with Sean, and I didn't think. You told me she got it on Redbox. When I went, oh shit! I would have sold the movie to her if I knew she had that power. So it's like you get that piece of information, just networking, which is done at markets and done at things like this, and and that's in film festivals and all that stuff, and be out in the world and be an ant. There you go.
So that's what we're going to end it on. Be an ant. All right, give it up for Tom and Ryan, you guys. Distribution. And thank you.